how much you put into the game, how much work ethic are you gonna put into it every single day, day in and day out. I've never cheated the process on wanting to be great in this game. I knew I had a God-given ability, but that only takes you so far if you don't use that ability and start putting in work every single day.
He said that with complete confidence on camera. For the record, he has never cheated the game. Now here's the question nobody wants to ask out loud. What do you call a 41-year-old man competing with his own teammate for rebound in a game that is already decided? Not competing with the opponent, with his own teammate, in a blowout. Because he needed one more rebound to hit a historic milestone, and then he could sub out and walk off like the mission was accomplished. LeBron James has spent 2 decades building his entire public image around one core idea, that everything he achieves is earned. Every record, every milestone, every line in the history books is the result of God-given talent multiplied by relentless daily work and an unbreakable commitment to the process. That has always been the story. And for most of his career, there was enough evidence on the court to make that story hold up under pressure. But something has been shifting quietly and steadily throughout this season. And the people who have been paying close enough attention to what is actually happening on the floor are no longer staying quiet about what they see.
They look like that meme they put the cigarette in his mouth.
That's Miami Bron. He got the thin neck.
Some would call it the Ozempic neck.
At some point, you gonna start the season and then not play for 20 games and come back. You better not come out there dunking. I don't see no dunks.
So when people say, is he declining? We was in a league where when he jumped, his chin was over the rim.
Yeah, we know he declined.
Over the rim. Now, you see this. It looked good for them because they don't remember the guy who was sitting here looking at the rim. Now we see him on the fast break. We can see, yeah, he's slow, right? He used to be 110 speed out of 100. Now he probably, 91, 92? That was that LeBron. This LeBron, he does look old.
That panel is not wrong. The physical decline is real, visible, and documented. The explosiveness that once made him genuinely terrifying on the open floor is gone. The chin above the rim dunks that used to announce his arrival have disappeared almost completely from his game. The speed that once registered at a level that seemed unfair to defend has come down to something measurably more human. Analysts put a number on it. He used to be 110 speed out of 100. Now he is operating somewhere around 91, 92. But here is the thing about all of that. Physical decline at 41 years old is not a scandal. It is not a failure of character or a lapse in professionalism. It is biology doing what biology always does eventually when you ask enough of a human body for long enough. Every player who has loved this game long enough has faced this reckoning. The body has hard limits. Time has a perfect record. Nobody watching LeBron James in 2026 is genuinely surprised that he moves differently than he did in 2012. That part is expected and understood. The real accusation is not about his legs. It is about his choices. Specifically the choice he made on February 13th, 2026 against the Dallas Mavericks. The Lakers were winning and the game was effectively finished. The outcome was not in question. And LeBron was still on the floor chasing a triple-double. 28 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. 1 rebound away from becoming the oldest player in NBA history to record a triple-double. And then Austin Reaves, his own teammate, a man who has absolutely nothing to gain from handing LeBron a milestone, grabbed a couple of boards that LeBron appeared to be pursuing specifically to complete the stat line. LeBron secured the triple-double, and then he walked to the bench and sat down.
Set for action here on Prime. LaRavia to James, 3-on-1 developing. Board. 5-on-4, Williams slow to get up. James is going to hoist, and hit a 3! He can do a whole lot with that in terms of creativity. Corner, Hachimura, looking.
How good can your zone be at adapting to what each other team's trying to do to you?
Shake and bake. James flings it up. It's good, and a foul. He turns it over. James, the locomotive to the rim.
Unfortunately tonight.
In transition, LeBron James fighting through waves of defenders, and he gets the roll. Hayes clears it. LeBron,
Oh my, the same team.
Yes, it's true.
The arena celebrated it. The cameras found him immediately. The crowd acknowledged it. And the internet did what the internet always does. It ran with the headline before anyone stopped to ask the right question about what was actually happening on that floor. Another milestone. Another historic achievement. Another chapter added exclusively to the LeBron James record book. The oldest player in NBA history to record a triple-double. The story wrote itself and the basketball world consumed it exactly the way it was designed to be consumed. But here is what Rick Bucher saw while everyone else was still celebrating. The game was already over when it happened. The outcome had been decided long before that final rebound landed. There was no competitive reason, not one legitimate one, for LeBron James to still be on the floor at that moment chasing a stat. And yet there he was, still out there, still chasing.
LeBron James has stayed in games to achieve some sort of statistical mark so routinely now that we're almost numb to it. The latest being the oldest player to ever achieve a triple-double. Can't remember who they were playing. I just know that the game was out of hand. There was no reason for him to be on the floor. I believe Austin Reaves ended up grabbing 2 rebounds that LeBron wanted so that he could complete the triple-double and get off the floor.
Routine. That one word is the entire case against him. Not impressive. Not exceptional. Not the behavior of a competitor whose fire burns so hot that even a blowout cannot contain it. Routine. And that specific word choice matters more than anything else Bucher said in that entire segment. Because routine does not mean once. It does not mean a single lapse in judgment that can be explained away with context or competitive passion. Routine means there is a pattern. Routine means if you have been watching closely enough and long enough, you have seen this before in multiple games, against multiple opponents, across multiple seasons. And when it happened again in February against Dallas, the people who'd been paying genuine attention did not react with shock. They reacted with recognition. Because they knew immediately what they were watching, they had seen this play before. That is the real accusation sitting underneath all of this. Not that LeBron had a bad night. Not that a 41-year-old body sometimes makes questionable decisions under pressure. The accusation is that this is a deliberate, repeated, calculated choice, dressed up as competitive instinct so nobody looks too closely at what is actually driving it. And then Bucher delivered the line that reframes everything you thought you knew about LeBron's public declarations.
The guy staying around at age 41 just to get an extra rebound, just to say in the history books, when everybody forgets how it was done, that he was the oldest guy to get a triple-double, that is stat chasing. That is undermining the statistical achievement. And with LeBron, he loves to say that he's never cheated the game. And it seems like not only with LeBron, but a lot of people these days, every declaration is actually a confession.
Every declaration is actually a confession. Sit with that for a moment. What he is saying is not complicated, but it is devastating when you think it through honestly. When someone insists loudly and repeatedly that they are not doing something, the more carefully you should watch what they actually do. LeBron James has been telling the world he has never cheated the game for years. He says it in interviews. He delivers it with the full weight of a man who believes the declaration itself is enough to close the case permanently. But then February 13th happens, and you watch a 41-year-old man in a finished game pursue a rebound, not to help his team because the team does not need that rebound, the game is decided, but to complete a statistical milestone that gets him into the history books as the oldest player to ever accomplish something specific. And then he sits down. If that is not cheating the game, what exactly is it? Here is what makes this worse than it might otherwise be. The Lakers are 41-25. First in the Pacific Division, on a winning streak, heading toward a real playoff run with legitimate championship conversations attached. If LeBron's stated reason for still playing is genuine, a 5th ring, 1 more championship, competing at the highest level 1 final time, he has a real opportunity sitting directly in front of him right now. And what is dominating the conversation around him right now? Not his playoff preparation, not his leadership of a contending roster entering the most critical stretch of the year, not his chemistry with Luka Doncic or his evolving role on a first-place team, an oldest player triple-double in a blowout against Dallas. That is a choice. Every part of it is a deliberate choice. You do not stay in a finished game chasing a rebound when your body is 41 years old and a playoff run is 6 weeks down the road. You sit down. You rest. You let Austin Reaves get his stats, and you protect what is left for the moments that actually carry real weight. Unless the record is the point. Unless the milestone is the actual plan and the championship conversation is what you say publicly so nobody starts asking the harder question about the other thing. Reaves is averaging 23.9 points this season. Luka Doncic is averaging 32.9 points with 8.5 assists. The Lakers are Luka's team, and everyone in that building knows it. LeBron is averaging 21.4 points at 41. Functional, not embarrassing, but the production of a complementary piece on a roster that has already identified its future and committed to building around someone else. He is not the reason this team is 41-25. Luka is. Reaves is. Which makes staying in a decided game to chase personal milestones not just questionable but indefensible from any competitive standpoint. And then there is the Bronny situation, which has never fully gone away. Bronny James was drafted by the Lakers in the second round of 2024, and the word that kept appearing in every conversation about it was nepotism. The idea that a roster spot was arranged for the son of the team's star player as part of a deal that kept LeBron in a Lakers uniform was corrosive to the credibility of the whole operation. Jeannie Buss was reportedly not pleased. Rich Paul had to appear on ESPN to publicly smooth things over. That is what crisis management looks like, and it is not what above-board decisions require. The Bronny draft was personal. The stat chasing is personal. The carefully maintained public image of someone who has never cheated the game is personal. All of it is personal, and there is nothing automatically wrong with personal interests. Athletes are human beings with families and legacies and things they want for themselves. But the insistence that every decision is purely about winning and competition and love of basketball is where the credibility problem lives and keeps growing. Rick Bucher is not wrong. He is a respected voice saying what the footage shows, what the pattern confirms, and what the circumstances make impossible to ignore. LeBron James built one of the greatest careers this sport has ever seen, and that is not in dispute. But greatness does not come with immunity from accountability. And the gap between what he says about himself and what the camera catches him doing in the fourth quarter of a finished game is a gap that keeps getting harder to explain away. Hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us below. Is the legacy management finally catching up with LeBron James? Or is there still an explanation we're all missing?